A very good morning to all of you. Myself, Dr. Varun Narayan Mishra, and today I am going to discuss about site selection and planning, which is very important when we are going for any kind of construction, when we are going for the developing a new urban area, new urban site, new urban city. So the site selection and how we can use different parameters for selecting the site, and that can be used for planning activities is very important. So before starting this, first the we should know what is the site selection. Okay, so site selection is very important. For each and every site, there is an ideal use, and for every use, there is an ideal site. Okay, you cannot construct any building, you cannot construct any road at anywhere. First, you need to select the specific site for your requirement. Okay, so for selecting the most suitable site for any kind of construction, we should follow different parameters, we should follow different criteria, which is very important for the selection of any site for any urban and developmental activities. Okay, so every site maybe have some different use, or a different use may have different sites. It's not like that ki when you are going to construct a building, to just construct the building at without analyzing the in surrounding area, or without analyzing different factors, different variables that is affecting the durability and strength of the building. Okay, so site selection is very important, and so these are some factors that influence the site planning. Okay, some natural factors are there, some man-made factors are also there. So the natural factors, including geology of that study area, soil type, topographical information, habitat, microclimate, hydrology, these are some natural factors that mostly affect the selection of site when we are going to construct a new building or any kind of infrastructure development. There are several man-made factors that also affects the site selection. That is existing land use, the different man-made features, legal regulations are also there. We have to follow some rule and regulation for the construction of any infrastructure, any developmental activities, and historical associations are also there. Third one is aesthetic factors. We should also take care of the aesthetic factors, the visual qualities and the relationship of the nearby natural components or natural environment. Metrological factors are also affecting the selection of site. It will include the climatic condition, it for different kinds of historical information about the natural disasters. So the categories of the data and its interpretation is related to the proposed project. So the level of detailed depend on the nature of the program and how simple or complex and they the site of rural or urban. Depending on your requirement, depending on your you can say the construction, whether you are working in a rural area or urban area, whether you are having the complex terrain or having some simple terrain, depending on your requirement, we need to take care of these factors that strongly affect or strongly influence the selection of the site for any kind of developmental activities or any kind of planning activities. Okay, so site analysis in the first stage, when we talk about site analysis, so in this we should have the consultation with the client. Means who is your client? If you are going to construct a building, if you are going to construct any office or any kind of railway station or any kind of infrastructural activities, infrastructure development, first you need to consult with your client. Okay, then you need to know what kind of in construction your client want. Okay, you need to check their requirement. You have to work and you have to start working after the consultation with your client. Then simple site visit. After that, simply go and visit the site. This result in a drawing to provide a rough sketch of the location and concept of the plan. After consultation with your client, after discussing with the requirement of your client, you need to simply visit the site. You need to simply visit the place where you are going to construct some building or any kind of infrastructure. Okay, then it will provide you a rough sketch, a rough idea about the location and concept of the plan. Then you can draw, and graphics are generally abstract. Okay, then after you can draw or you can sketch, or you can have some graphics about that study area. So this is the primary and first stage of site selection or site analysis. Okay, so this is the way, this is a rough sketch, rough structure of the any kind of site selection process. The site analysis process includes some basic information. So this graph, or you can say this figure, is a rough sketch of the construction site for the factors that are important about the construction of any building, any kind of urban feature, any kind of office building. Okay, so this graph or this figure is showing a rough structure. You can see here, these are the roads, then there are some trees. Okay, then buildings, you can have some open space, you can have some fire stations, police station. So it's a rough structure, it's a rough sketch. It's just after the consultation of your client. Okay, so it will provide you some basic idea about the site, what is available there, what is not available there, how you can start your developmental activities, how can you start your construction. After that, then we can go for the collection and analysis of existing site information. Okay, that will have the location and collection of any information that are not found on the existing plans. Okay, when initially you visited the site and you have prepared some rough sketch about that study area, about that site. Okay, but now we are going to analyze it in detail for collecting and for analyzing the existing site information. So now main work starts now from the initial inspection of the site. Okay, so now first we will going to check the effects of different natural factors before selecting or before any kind of construction. So first, an important factor, natural factor, is slope and topography. Okay, when we are working on the construction of a tall building or any kind of building or any kind of flyover, overbridge, tunnel. Okay, so slope and topography is having important role. Slope and topography describe the shape and relief of the land feature, and topography provides us the information about the elevation and relief of the land surface that is measured with the contours that connects the point representing the same elevation. So topographical information is very important. It provides you the change in the elevation values, it provides you the information about the relief displacement, relief information about the land. And topographical information can be measured with the contour lines that connects the points representing the same elevation. And slope is the difference in elevation from one point to another point, that is divided by the lateral distance between those points. So slope and topography, these are two important natural factors that should be taken into consideration before any kind of site selection or before any kind of infrastructure development, any kind of construction activities. Okay, so why it is important, why slope and topography is so important in site selection? Because it can reduce the construction cost, it can minimize the risk from natural hazards such as flooding and landslides. Okay, if it is having highly undulating surface, if the topography is highly undulating, there is uneven topography, slope is very high, so there may be the risk for the flooding and landslides. So we need to check the slope and topography of that area before any construction, before any site selection. That will minimize the risk of the flooding and landslide. It will also minimize the impacts of proposed developments on the natural resources such as soil, vegetation, and water. And it will create a model of the land surface, that is digital elevation model or three-dimensional physical model. So for analyzing the slope and topography of that study area, we need to create a digital elevation model, three-dimensional surface of that study area, that will provide you the three-dimensional information about that site. Okay, this is the topographic map. This is the way in which we can generate the topographical information. This is a topographic map, and these lines are contour lines. Whatever the line you are observing here, these lines are contour lines, and contour lines are produced by connecting the equal height or equal points having the same height. Okay, the points having same height are connected with each other, so these lines are known as contours. So topographical map is based on the location, different natural features, man-made features, elevation and relief, vegetation, hydrographic, water bodies, roads, and buildings. Okay, whatever the construction you are looking for, all these are based on the topographical information. If it is a highly elevated area, if it is having low elevated area, so it affects the construction of any road or any building or any kind of other infrastructure okay. So moving to the next slide, slope analysis is very important. It is used to measure the suitability of the gradient of the terrain for each type of the development. Okay, so the slope should be in a minimal range. It's a measure of the steepness of the surface. If the surface is highly steep, so there may be the possibility of landslide and flooding. Okay, and it may be expressed in either degree or percentage of the slope. In this example, the red cells show the steep area. Okay, the red cells means red pixel showing the steep area. Its slope is around 14 degree. Okay, so these sites are not suitable for any kind of construction. These sites are in the risk zone in case of flooding or in case of landslide. Okay, and the green cells show the flat area. So these green cells, green pixels are showing the flat area, means its slope is around 1.1 degree. Okay, but most of the part of that study area, it's a representation of the study area in terms of pixels. So most of the part of this study area is under the high slope area, that is having the range more than 40-degree slope. So these sites are not suitable for any kind of construction. It will be in the risk prone zone in case of flooding and any kind of natural disasters, earthquake, or landslide. Okay, so these green patches, the green locations, green pixels are suitable sites for the construction of any building or any kind of urban feature, urban infrastructure, because its slope is around only 1%. So the this is the importance of slope analysis in case of any construction or in case of any building. Now moving to the next slide, slope analysis. During the slope analysis, the typical questions are the contour intervals. You should take care the contour intervals, then pattern of the landform, whether you have to check the natural drainage pattern, unique features, what kind of unique features are present in that study area. Slope analysis can be done, and you can represent the slope in the form of percentage. Like in the previous slide, we have represented the slope in different percentage, like 25% of the area is having slope more than 40 degree, 14 degree, then 50% of 15% of the area is having slope of 8.5 degree. So you can have the percentage of the area in terms of slope, and the site can be, these kind of sites can be dangerous, can be risk in the place of landslide or any kind of natural disasters. So slope is very important. Hydrological cycle also an important factor when we talk about any kind of construction. You have to check the availability of water resources, you have to check the availability of underground water. Okay, that these are very important factors, because water is a essential amenity for any living body or living organism. So hydrological cycle is also important. You have to check whether this area is having high precipitation zone or in the low precipitation zone. What is the condition of the lakes, how, what is the ground recharge, what is the, what kind of soil is there, whether it is highly porous or not. Okay, so this is the importance of hydrological cycle. Hydrological cycle will provide you the information about the precipitation, rainfall pattern, the condition of the lakes and different water qualities in rivers and underground water quality. Okay, so this is also important factor. This one of the important natural factor that should be taken into consideration before any kind of site selection. Okay, then soil is also important role. Soil is also having important role in site selection. Soil may be of different types. It may be loamy soil, clay soil, and sand soil. Before any kind of construction, you need to per- perform the soil survey. Okay, soil survey tell you that that soil is having the bearing capability of the building or not. Okay, different soil may have different bearing capability. Some soil may bear heavy load, some soil may bear very low load. Okay, so if you are planning to construct a tall building, if you are planning to construct a huge construction, So in that case, soil type is very important. So soil is very important factor, and the soil classification is in the three basic types of soil is loamy, clay, and sand. Okay, soil classification is generally based on the soil texture. The triangle shown here shows the relative proportion of three particle size: sand, silt, and clay. Okay, so the soil can be characterized on the basis of its texture, on the basis of its porosity. If soil is highly porous, then it will have good water quality, underground water quality. Soil chemistry is also important, and soil moisture. These are important characteristics, these are important factors when we are going to select any site for construction. Okay, so before the uh, construction of any building or any kind of infrastructure, so we need to first check the soil properties and soil characteristics. It is having important role in site selection. Okay, so this is the way in which we can perform the soil analysis, we can perform the soil survey, and can prepare a soil map of the study area. So this is the soil map of that site. This is soil map of that study area. You can have the information about the different soils, and on the basis of the soil type, we can start the construction, or we can avoid a construction, tall building, or any kind of infrastructure development. This is about the soil map. Okay, natural soil is also having different depth. Okay, so which depth is suitable for the construction, what is the chemical property of the soil, and how deep is the water table and fluctuation. Okay, the soil having different layers. A soil having different layers, it is having the organic layer, that is top soil layer, then alluviated horizon, then subsoil, parent material, and red rock. Okay, so we need to check the depth of the soil, and we need to study which depth is required for any kind of construction, because the soil is having different layers, each and every layer having different properties and different characteristics. So we should check, we should study, or we should analyze the soil depth, and on that basis, we can go for the construction of some building or any kind of infrastructure development. Okay, then another natural factor is meteorological factor. Meteorological parameters is also a important natural factors that affects the selection of a site. Temperature is an important factor. Then microclimate of that study area. Microclimate includes the wind velocity, the precipitation rate, humidity. Okay, these are the meteorological factors, and it should be taken care into consideration before any kind of site selection, before any kind of developmental activities. Okay, and other important features like sun orientation, the airflow, the water quality, the wildlife nearby that study area, what is the population density of that area, and what are the existing land use of the site and its surroundings. Okay, these are some important features for the selection of the site. Okay, so when we are going for any kind of construction, when we are going to select any site for any construction or developmental activities, these factors should also be taken into consideration. That is soil density, soil type, population density, wildlife, water quality, airflow, and sun orientation. Okay, so existing land use on site is important. The potential of the change, the color symbol of the land use, and facilitates or the site amenities. Land use pattern is also important. If there is a existing land use of some kind of infrastructure, so you need to check. We should have the information about the existing land use, and on the basis of the existing land use, we can plan for some other land use activities. We can plan for some other construction activities. Okay, this is the way we can also study the surrounding of that proposed site and proposed construction. Okay, so this is the aerial photo showing the site surrounding by different features, different land surface features. Okay, so this is the aerial photo, and before the selection of the site, before in site selection process, we should also check the surrounding area. We should also study the area surrounding that site. Okay, that will provide you the uh, natural environment, it can provide you the information about the natural environment and natural surface around that site. Okay. These are some important factors for the selection of site. Potential of change. Okay, these figures are showing the change pattern over the period of time. Okay, suppose figure 1, figure 2, this is the photograph of the same area. So you need to check whether this area is having high potential of change or not. Initially it was having some kind of open space, barren land, but right now it is having some greenery. Okay, this is another site that is having some kind of potential of changes. Okay, so we should also check the potentiality, or we can also check whether that site is having potential to change in future or not. Okay, that will also affect the selection of site. If you are selecting a site which is not having any potential of change, and it is away from urban area, it is away from the core city, so it will not be developed in near future. So you should also check the potential of the change. You should also check whether this site where you are going to plan some construction, it is having potential of the change in near future or not, so that it will be good for the future development or future revenue and future land price that will be in the near future. Existing facilities, we should also check the existing facilities of that study area. How much schools are there, how much hospitals are there, what is the distance of the fire station, how many post offices, libraries are there, and how much different kinds of social services are there when we are going to select any site. So before that, we need to check the existing facilities in that study area. How much, if there is a good availability of hospitals, if there is availability of library, any kind of public schools. So that kind of site, that area is very much suitable for any kind of construction. Okay, so these are some existing facilities that needs to be studied, that needs to be checked before the site of the selection, before any kind of construction. Okay, circulation is there, very important. Linkage and movement pattern, connection to the activity centers, circulation, accessibility, and potential of change. Okay, so how is there good accessibility to the network, good accessibility of the internet, if there is a availability of electricity, water supply, all these circulation is very important. Whether it is having good sewage system, drainage system, all these things can be taken into consideration before the selection of the site. Street system is very important. Okay, we need to check how, what kind of street system is there, so that it will be easier for anyone to travel or to move around that study area. Okay, so this is the two way in which we can have the street system. Typical subdivision that will having some uneven pattern of the street, but in the right side figure you can have the even pattern of the street system, and all the roads, all the streets are well connected with each other. So if someone is moving from your home to the market or school, so it will not have any difficulty. So street system and street selection is very important in your study area where you are going to construct something. Where you are uh, going to select any site for any kind of construction activities, so you need to check the street system whether it is well connected or not. Is- if the street if the roads are not well connected, so it will be problematic when you move around the city, when you go from one place to another place. So it should be well connected. And moving to the next slide, street capacity is very important. Roads should be of good quality. There will be the high capacity of the vehicles and population. Okay, if the roads are very narrow, if the streets are not well connected and the streets are very narrow, so there may be the gathering of the person, there may be the gathering of the people, there may be the gathering of the vehicles, there may be the high traffic jam, there may be the problematic for the transportation, there may be the problematic, it may be the problematic for the mobilization and mobility. Okay, so street capacity is also important. Street connectivity and street capacity both are important. It should be well connected, and streets having the high capacity so that it can have the lot of population, or if it is very congested, if the streets are very narrow, so it will be the problematic. There may be the problem of traffic jam, there may be the problem of congestion, there may be the problem of some other social interactions. Okay, so street capacity is very important. And yeah, the comparison between the mass transit and private car, so it should be the it should having the good facilities there, that there may be the mass transit and the private car, there may be different lanes, there may be different streets in that study area, the number of people in 1 hour between each type of the transportation. Okay, there may be the multiple roads in that study area. Okay, there may be the different lanes, there may be the multiple lanes, so people can move easily from one place to another place. Okay, there may not be the mass transit, there may be separate transits, there may be the separate lane for heavy vehicles, then two wheelers, or the people walking on. So it's like that, you should have good in connectivity, good kind of street system, so that it will be easy for any kind of transportation and mobility around the study city or urban area. Okay, law and regulations, there should be some rules and regulations that should be followed by the people in that study area before the selection of the site, before any construction. You should also check the rule and regulation of that study area. Okay, how many zones are there, what is the district boundary is there. Okay, all these information should also be important before the site selection. Okay, and sometimes each some in some cities and some areas, there may be the law regarding the number of floors, how number of floors we can construct in the building. Okay, if the city is having the limitation of only 10 floor, so you, and if you are planning to construct a building having 20 floors, 25 floors, so that studies, that area will not be suitable for your objective. Okay, so you should check the law, rule and regulations of the construction of the, or the how number of floors, how many number of floors are allowed in that study area. FAR is the floor area ratio, is one of the density control device. It's a term that is used for zoning ordinance that will use to quantify and limit the amount of square footage of the building as a function of the building site. Okay, so you should also check the law, rule and regulation. Then zoning setback and height limits, what is the height limit of the buildings in that study area. In some cities in the India and the world, they are having the limit of the height of the building. So you should know what is the height limit of the construction of the building. Then you can plan accordingly. Then on this basis you can have the number of floors, you can construct the number of floors in that building. Okay, aesthetic factors is also important. Landscape, visual quality includes the landscape characteristics, the spatial pattern of the site, the visual quality and the character, the visual disturbances. The visual quality is very important. These are important for the aesthetic aspect of the site selection. Okay, we should also utilize the special features on the landscape. Your landscape should be in your landscape should be good looking, and it should have aesthetic features that will help you to beautify your landscape, that will help you to beautify your site. Okay, you should also take care of these special features on the landscape. Yeah, determining the views from the site. Okay, these are the different view of the sites from your building or any kind of tall height or tall building. Okay, panoramic view, framed view, filtered view. So determining the views from the site is also important when you are going to construct some building in that study area. So you need to check whether it is having good or aesthetic views from your site, from your building or not. So that will also helps you to uh, have the good living standard, good lifestyle, and it will also provide you the uh, ability to visualize or view the entire city from the top of your building, from the top of your house. Okay, so this is also important to determine the views from different sites in that study area, in that urban area. Okay, second stage is the concept of design. So this is typically the initial design response. There are no definite rules as to what must be included in the concept plan, and typically the main features of the landscape design are shown. For instance, for the different garden area, it may have the relationship to the neighboring area, main features, and the main tree. The plans are often to scale and include a basic indication of the materials. The drawings are often illustrative. In the second step, we can have the concept about the design. Okay, also we need to have different measurements. Different measurements are required. It will help you to measure the enough existing features to verify the scale of your drawing. Okay, the overall length, the height of the building faces can also be measured, and the location and width of the path, location and the size that will have trunk, canopy, and the height of the trees and shrubs. The measurements are also important during the selection of the site, during the construction of any building, any infrastructure in that urban area or in that city. Okay, so this is conceptual diagram from landscape graphics by Grant W. Wade. This is the conceptual diagram. This is the simple sketch showing how and where you can construct a building and in what way you can have the option to build the building and have different trees and different open spaces, then streets and other kind of gardens and green spaces. Okay, so this is the conceptual diagram showing how you can beautify, how you can work on the aesthetics of the landscape by having some trees, some, you may have some swimming pools, you may have some open spaces, urban green spaces. It may have some other landscape features that will be help you to visualize or having good aesthetic view of your study area, of your building or surrounding area. Preliminary drawing includes the concept of the designing that needs the further resolution, but the client does not want to progress to detailed designing of full tender of the construction document. And for the preliminary phase, the main goal is to map out how the complex components will perform the functions in a given site and their defined interface within the general environment. A presentation is made to the client, and the client assess how well the plan suits, and therefore they allow you to make any change that will be needed to be made. Otherwise, you can go for that drawing that you have prepared. In stage 4, now we can go for the detailed designing, and tender issue plans will be there. So the tender issue plans are used to obtain the quotes from the contractors. Then these drawings must communicate the fully resolved design to the contractors and include all details of the contractor that will need to provide an accurate quote. The drawing must give the contractor enough information to determine the scope of the work that needs to be done and all the requirement, all the required components, and the ability to estimate the labor requirement. So at last, after uh, having all the factors, after analyzing all the factors, after analyzing different kinds of factors affecting the site selection, last in the last stage we can issue some tender, and depending on our budget, depending on our fund, so that you should contact some contractor and you will provide all the information to that contractor and all the required components and the ability to estimate the labor requirements. Okay. So, what is landscape? Generally, the landscape is a portion of the Earth's surface that can be comprehended at a glance. Landscape may also be defined as a natural scenery that may be seen from a single point of view. A landscape is an attractive, important, and ambiguous term that encompasses an ensemble of ordinary features, which constitute an extraordinary rich exhibit the course and character of any society. Landscape is defined by your own vision and interpreted by your own mind. Landscape is a ensemble of, you can say it's a combined feature showing different land use, land cover of this study area. Okay, landscape is a mosaic of different kinds of land use, land cover features that will help you to see the natural scenery that may be seen from a single point of view, and it will also help you to define the vision and interpretation by your mind. Okay, so before going for any site selection, before going for any construction, we should check the availability, we should check the factors, different natural and man-made factors that may affect the construction of your building, that may affect the durability and strength of your building, or in any kind of construction. I am not talking about only the building, it may affect any kind of construction, any kind of landscape feature that may be affected by the natural and man-made features. So in today's lecture, we will discuss how the site can be selected and what are the factors, including natural and man-made features, that may influence the site of the selection of the site. And before any kind of construction activities, before any kind of developmental activities, or before the construction of building or flyover, any kind of tunnel or whatever you are going to construct, you should check all the natural and man-made factors of that study area. And after that, you can start the construction, you can start for the development of new buildings in an urban area. That will also help you to provide the sustainable urban development goals. Sustainable urban development goals includes all the necessary amenities and utilities that is required for having good healthy life, that is required for having good and prosperous lifestyle of the residents of that study area. So in such kind of site selection activities, remote sensing, or you can the earth observation satellites, earth observation images are having important role. You can visualize the study site, you can visualize the study area by having different resolution images, so you can get the detailed information about the soil type, you can get have the detailed information about the available water resources. Okay, there are some meteorological satellites, there are some meteorological stations are there. On the basis of the data acquired from the meteorological stations or meteorological data collection centers, you can have the information about the local climate, what is the temperature is there, what is the condition of precipitation. All these things can be done by meteorological data sets. And remote sensing and GIS can also helps you to integrate different landscape features. It will also help you to prepare a you can say the proposed map that will help you to guide how you can start your work and what are the requirements for the future construction. Okay, so this topic is very important in urban and regional planning. Whenever we talk about urban and regional planning, so definitely we are going to construct some infrastructure. We are going to construct something, uh, or we are going to construct some new buildings, some new roads, some new flyovers, some new airports. Okay, so this is an important activity in urban and regional planning. So before going for any kind of construction in urban and regional planning activities, we should check all the factors. We should check all the necessary meteorological or climatic factors that may affect the lifestyle, that may affect the durability and strength of the building. So in short, we can say that when we talk about urban and regional planning, so it is very important to select the suitable site. It's not like just you select a study site and start construction of the building. For urban, and the main goal of urban planning is to provide all the basic amenities. Is to provide to all the necessary infrastructure for having good and healthy life. Okay, so this is the way we can do the urban and regional planning. And in urban and regional planning activities, the site selection is important. And in the site selection, it is very important to consider different natural and man-made features that will help you to work for the sustainable development, sustainable urban planning. And also it helps you to uh, have the good aesthetic view of your study site or your house or home or your building. Okay, Thank you very much for today's class. And today we have discussed about the processes in the site selection, factors affecting the site selection and other things. So today's topic is very important in terms of urban and regional planning. Thank you very much for today's class, and we will meet again in the next class with new topic. Thank you.